Today I have a special treat for you. We're not in Russia, we're in fact in Soviet Dubai. Welcome to Baku, the capital of Azerbaijan. Not only is Baku the capital city of Azerbaijan, it's also the largest city on the Caspian Sea and in the Caucasus region. Despite the fact that it's 28 meters below sea level, making it the lowest lying national capital in the world, it is extremely windy up here. But it's the sole metropolis in the country, and about 25% of all of Azerbaijani inhabitants live in Baku's metropolitan area. There is evidence of a Bronze Age settlement within the city's territory, but in the 1st century AD, the Romans organized 2 Caucasian campaigns and reached what is today Baku. Near the city, in what today is Gobustan, Roman inscriptions dating from AD 84 to 96 survive. And we are now going to head down from the Central Park, out of this wind so that you can hear me better, and towards the old city. As another photographer, good morning.
Good morning, how are you?
I'm good, how are you?
Yeah, not too bad.
What interests you about Baku?
I'm personally here for the UFC.
You're from the USA?
The UFC. You know UFC, like MMA?
Oh, from the UFC,
Yeah,
I got you.
But the architecture,
yeah.
it's really windy. The architecture and I guess the cleanliness of the place is probably I don't know, it's just, when a society comes together, it really makes you wonder why.
Yeah,
it's when you come from like the UK or Australia.
Yeah, I come from the UK, yeah.
Exactly, right?
So like the architecture is really interesting here because it's been ruled by so many different empires.
Exactly,
you have
right.
the Persians, you have the Turkish, the Ottoman Empire, you have the Russians, you have us. We ruled it for like 7 months, I think. So it's so interesting to see like Parisian streets. You've got Soviet apartment blocks. You've got this flame tower looking like Dubai.
Even the old city. Like,
yeah.
There's so many different contrasting civilizations. You clearly see it.
I'm heading off there now. It's going to be really cool.
No, I was there yesterday. You're gonna love it.
Nice. What's your favorite part of Baku?
I really liked the old city walk yesterday because I know everything's like really clean and flashy and all that kind of stuff, but the old city felt very traditional, rustic, and everyone was just a very peaceful day.
That's cool, man.
So
How do you find the people here?
Very nice, very calm, very, I guess, conservatively nice.
Yeah.
In the sense of they're very traditional, very old school, but reserved and hospitable too.
Yeah, it's very cool. I think the only thing that kind of stumps me is whether I speak English or Russian. Because some of them speak Russian from the Soviet Union, some of them speak English.
Yeah. I got lucky. Some of them speak. A lot of people speak Arabic here as well.
Oh, really?
So I was like, that makes it easy for me too.
Whereabouts are you actually from?
I'm Lebanese.
Yeah.
But living in Australia.
I see, because I hear the accent.
It's a little bit,
yeah. What was your name?
Yusuf.
Yusuf, Alex.
Nice
Fantastic to meet you. Have a good day, man. Yeah, YouTube.
Subscribe to you, man.
British man in Russia.
British man in Russia.
Take care, man. Oh, what a lovely guy. So he says that the old city is his favorite part. So let's get out of this wind. We'll head back down to street level and I will show you just how many different empires have ruled this place, which is why it is so architecturally and societally different everywhere. You have the old city with all the mosques. You have Parisian looking buildings and Parisian looking streets. You have Turkish architecture and also Turkish words in the language as well. And if I come across some shops, I will be showing you. And you also have the Soviet style apartment blocks. And of course, you've seen in the distance the skyscrapers, the circular malls and the flame towers that make it look like modern day Dubai. This is another thing that surprises me so much from Azerbaijan. I came here with no expectations. I didn't really have time to plan much of a video, but I was so surprised at how clean everything is here. Look at just how hard everyone works to keep the streets clean. And it's not just these two. You have a guy who's just picked up after himself. You have other street sweepers coming along. Like, it is so clean here, like impeccably clean for a big city. And that is 2 factors. The first factor is that you have a lot of street cleaners that are employed to make sure everything is nice. But second of all, it's a societal thing as well. People pick up after themselves, people look after where they live, and that's one of those conservatively nice things that people do. And it's nice to see that people show pride and take care of the area they live in. We've made it to the old town, and just look at these old city walls. They are not that high for city walls, to be fair, not as high as those in England. However, people used to be much smaller back then, didn't they? So I'm sure it was very tall for them. If you look on the left, you can see what looks to be a copy of the Louvre and a Parisian building. However, that is the entrance to the metro. Yes, the Soviets actually built a metro here, and we will have a little look at that later. Let's have a look and go through the main gate towards the old city, and I will tell you about the first empire to rule over Baku, because there were quite a few, which is why this city looks so different. Let's have a look through here. Look at the beautiful buildings. Just look at that. Look at the old wooden balcony. Look at the old stone walls. This is beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Oh. Wow. It's amazing. It's like I've stepped into Persia. There's a mosque up there as well. Look at this. This is the old fortress look. Now these small windows here, that is so you could fire arrows out into people coming to attack the old city. Just like this, I can just get my camera through like an old slingshot, like an old bow and arrow. And anyone who's running down, well, what used to be, I guess, the planes to come and attack this city, you can launch an arrow out here and very quickly hide around the side of the window to make sure you don't get hit yourself. So let me tell you about the first empire to rule over Baku. It was ruled by the Shirvashans during the 8th century AD, and the Shirvan era was greatly influenced Baku and the remainder of present-day Azerbaijan. And between the 12th and the 14th century, massive fortifications were built in Baku and the surrounding towns, and you can see what we mean when I say massive fortifications. This old city wall, with all of its defences and turrets and towers, go all the way around the perimeter of the old city. You've got to be careful of the cars here. They come out at a moment's notice. But look at the tower here and the turrets. It's just beautiful. And it's not like other different cities where everything is completely derelict. Everything is actually in pretty good nick. Everything is well taken care of. Everything is clean. It's fantastic, comfortable, beautiful. For nearly 700 years, the Shirvashans ruled a kingdom called Shirvan, covering much of modern Azerbaijan. And if you look here on the entrance, you will see Turkish writing, Giriş. That means entrance in Turkish, and that has been taken from when the Ottomans ruled over here. However, we're talking about the Shirvan Empire, and that covers most of modern Azerbaijan. And by early 1400s, they moved their capital to Baku and built this palace complex that we are walking around right now. Look at that beautiful dome. That could have been an observatory. Obviously not, because there's glass roof, but isn't it beautiful? We have observatories that look like this, and this is just a regular dome for the Persians. And look at the old houses that used to back onto the castle. You'd have a palace here and just ordinary people living here. Ordinary people that still do live here. Those are just normal houses, look. Just normal houses. That's number 10, look. A couple more houses here. The buildings that you're seeing today, they are mostly constructed between 1411 and 1465 under Shivrashant Kaludia I. It must be a beautiful view from that palace. Oh, look, there's a larder. There's a Soviet larder. It's a clash of 3 different empires in one place. You have the Persian Empire with its Ottoman Turkish writing on the entrance sign. And you have a Soviet larder. Oh, that's just fantastic. I love this place. I love the clash and the fusion of different empires all together. That's amazing. Just amazing. And here, this must be the back entrance into the palace. Let's take a little look and see if we can see anything through the gate. There's no gate, it's just a door. However, we can kind of get a little bit of a glimpse through the old arch holes, and you can just about see into the gardens of the palace. There's another mosque, look. This is back when they used to practice Islam here. And I think they still do, to be honest with you. You've got some nice terrace restaurants and a nice, beautiful view over the Caspian Sea. And we're going to make our way now towards this little side street. And I'll tell you a little bit more, jumping forward to the 16th century. And by this time, Baku's wealth and strategic position attracted attention of its larger neighbours. In the previous 2 centuries, it was under the rule of Iran-centred Kara Kolynium and Ak Kolynium. And the fall of Ak Kolynium brought the city immediately into the sphere of the newly formed Iranian dynasty, led by King Ismail I. And Ismail I laid siege to Baku in 1501 and captured it. And he allowed the Shrivians to remain in power under Safavid dynasty. So he had to look over everything. They remained in power, but under constant supervision. This is somebody's apartment block, look. It says be quiet, so I'll do my best to talk a bit lower. Look at these beautiful flowers and this beautiful street. Isn't it amazing? They take care of their local places so well. And look, you have water for the cats. They've been feasting on a bird. I'll keep that out for you. Isn't it beautiful? There's a cat sleeping there on the window, look. So sweet. I think the Ottomans most have definitely brought their cats over to Azerbaijan under their rule, because I have just flown from Turkey. I spent the last 2 weeks in Antalya and in Istanbul. I went to see my mother. It's not often I get to see my mother, living in a different country to her. But she came for the last 2 summers to Russia, and we decided that this year we would meet in a new country for the both of us. And the one striking thing about Antalya and Istanbul is that cats are not really pets. They're stray animals that everyone seems to just take care of and to look after, living on the street. And that's good and bad, because it means that everyone gets them as a pet, but also it means that they can be covered in fleas and a little bit neglected, and they have to fight over food. But the restaurants take care of them, they feed them and water them. But it seems to be the same here. Lots of stray cats with their food and water out on the street. Look at this. Look at that beautiful mural of the 2 birds. I think it's a robin. I'm not 100% sure because their breasts aren't red. Look here. There's the palace up there. There's another apartment block. It's beautiful, just beautiful. We're going to head a little bit further down now towards the Caspian Sea. We're going to see how close we can get there in the old city. One other thing I really like about Baku is the fact that most people's balconies have an Azerbaijani flag. And if you look at the balconies that have just kind of been bolted onto this original building, you can see that they all have an Azerbaijani flag. And it's lovely to see. I love the patriotism here. And one other thing that Azerbaijan is famous for is their carpets. Look at the craftsmanship on this. They are very famous for their rugs and their carpets. Look at that. Just beautiful. So I've been talking about the Ottoman Empire, about the stray cats, about some of the words which are still used in today's Azerbaijani. And the Ottomans briefly gained control over Baku as a result of the Ottoman Safavid War of 1578 to 1590. But by 1607, it became under Iranian control yet again. Now, the Safavids temporarily lost power in Iran in 1722, and Emperor Peter the Great, or as the Russians know him, Pyotr I of Russia, took advantage of the situation and invaded. Have a look at these beautiful scarves and beautiful carpets. So as a result of the Russian-Persian War that lasted just 1 year from 1722 to 1723, the Safavids were forced to cede Baku to Russia. But by 1730, the situation had deteriorated for the Russians, and the success of Nader Shah, one of the most powerful Iranian rulers in history, led them to sign the Treaty of Ganja in 1735, ceding the city and all other conquered territories in the Caucasus back to Iran. Now, Baku remained as an integral part of his empire, and the end of successive Iranian dynasties for the next few centuries, until ceded to the Russian Empire through the 1813 Treaty of Gulistan as part of the full-scale Russo-Persian War, which lasted from 1804 until 1813. And the treaty confirmed the ceding and inclusion of what is now Dagestan, eastern Georgia, most of the Republic of Azerbaijan, and parts of northern Armenia from Iran into the Russian Empire. And the House of Shiran, which had ruled Baku since the 9th century, was dissolved. You can see here some of those original Persian carpets out for people to buy from the local shops. You can see some ruins down here from the original old town. Perhaps this is where they gathered for entertainment. This is probably Azerbaijan's most famous monument. And the amazing thing is that nobody exactly knows why it was built. How old is it? That's the mystery. The lower part may date back to somewhere between the 6th and 12th centuries. The upper section was likely added later. And you can see the contrast here in the brickwork. You have the lower part where it's a little bit thicker, the bricks are slightly more close together, and then you have this ribbed section, a little bit higher look, that was added later. And historians debate to this very day about the exact date it was made and why. So let's go in and I will tell you about all of the different theories, and we can have a beautiful aerial view of the old town. And of course, people were much smaller back in the day. My head can only just scrape through. Another reason why scientists and historians are unable to work out the purpose of this tower is because the interior is split into different halls and different levels. If you look at the diagram here, you can see you've got different levels connected by stairways. We're going to head up and have a look at the next level. But just look at this. That's the best view I can get for you. The ceilings are low, it's very small, and I have no idea what would have happened here. If you have any ideas, or you know anything more than me, or the information here, or that is on the internet, do let me know, because it would be extremely interesting to finally find out. Look, here we go. Another one of the halls. And you've got another hall up there, look. 3 halls stacked up on top of each other. And here is a rough map of the old city. Here we are at the Maiden Tower. There are different mosques, and there is the palace over there. Let's head up to the next level, and I will tell you about some of the theories about why this tower was built. Now, it could have been built as a defense tower. That's the traditional explanation, isn't it? Part of Baku's fortifications, because it's on the edge of the city walls. It's got a great view over the Caspian Sea, so perhaps it was for defense. It's got those narrow archery windows in place, facing the Caspian Sea, so that you can easily strike people who are coming on invading ships. However, it seems a bit poorly designed for defense. Because if anyone was to get into this tower, there is no way out whatsoever. The other theory is that it was a lighthouse. Baku has always been a major port, but the evidence is limited, because if it was a lighthouse, there should be evidence and relics of something to guide and warn the ships. There's more than 3 levels here. It's like going into a supervillain's lair where everything is divided into smaller sections. The next theory is a Zoroastrian fire temple. Now, before Islam was worshipped here, people practiced Zoroastrianism. And that's because the fire worshippers worship the natural gas releases for eternal flames. So you have natural gas in the area, which is why we have the oil, and it gets released naturally as an eternal flame. And people worship that, and it was called Zoroastrianism. But I don't particularly believe in that. Look at this beautiful view. Look at this beautiful view. There's no way this could have been a lighthouse. There's nothing here to show at all that it was going to light ships, unless it was here and taken away. Now let me tell you about the famous legend here. The legend goes that a king wanted to marry his own daughter, and to delay the wedding, she asked him to build a magnificent tower. And when it was completed, and she realized that she couldn't escape the marriage, she threw herself from the top into the Caspian Sea. However, there's no historical evidence for the story, and if you can see over there, the Caspian Sea is quite far away. It doesn't seem very plausible to me. She'd have to jump and fly. So let me show you some of the original old city. Look at the tiny, narrow streets. You can see various of the different 14 mosques, and you can see over there the domes of the palace, the rulers of this empire. Just look at how tightly packed all of the buildings are together. It's like stepping back in time. And most old cities were like this. If you look at the old Roman cities, when I was just in Italia, that was Hadrian's Gate, and you have the old cities there taken over by the Romans. They're all tightly packed, closely together. And it's strange to imagine that that was somebody's entire world. You had to pay a toll just to get in and out of the old city. And some people couldn't afford it, so they never left these city walls. Can you imagine being stuck in such a tiny place? You can see the city walls over there. You can see the city walls, the entire perimeter of them. Imagine being stuck in this one place for your entire life because you could not afford the toll to leave and just go to the sea or go somewhere else, and then to come back in as well, because that's a separate toll. And now I'm going to tell you the last piece of history of the old city, and that was that the Treaty of Gulistan directly contributed to the outbreak of the next Russo-Persian War, 1826 to 1828, in which the Iranian forces were defeated once more. And by 1828, Iran had lost both treaties of all of these integral territories of the North Caucasus region to the Russian Empire. And that's where the Russian influence starts. So we're going to head over now to a more modern part of the city. One thing that has lasted from the Soviet Union is the fact that you have numbered schools, because everyone was supposed to be even and equal in the Soviet Union. You didn't have named schools, you had numbered schools. So school 189 is this way. And it's kind of a bit of a culture shock for me coming from the West, where every school has a name, like Pontylin High School, Gossip Academy, Royal Grammar School. And when you go to Russia and you go to parts of the former USSR, you say, oh, what school are you from? Oh, I'm from school 1673. No way, I'm from school 179. It's crazy. And I understand the ideology behind it, because in a lot of cultures, especially in England, in South America, where you have a lot of classism, people will ask, what school did you go to? And your answer very much then defines who you will be friends with and maybe what job opportunities you will get as well. Whereas here, nobody cares what school you went to, because it's just a number. And we're going to head right towards the Central Park. Here is the Ministry of Internal Affairs, so that is Police HQ, look. You've got big guys out there with AK-47s protecting the Ministers of Police inside. You have lots of e-scooters and e-bikes that you can rent, pretty much like anywhere in Russia or any Western country. They seem to have made a boom everywhere. However, you may be wondering, why all the Parisian architecture? Where are all of those Soviet apartment blocks? There used to be so many of them during the Soviet Union everywhere because they were cheap to build. So where are they now? We're currently walking along Azerbaijan Boulevard, and despite the brand new apartment blocks, you can see those 5-story Stalinist houses are still evident in quite a few places in the central parts of Baku. I mean, they are distinct with their arches. They're built with stonework here, not concrete, so they're a little bit more grandeur, but they're certainly Stalinist. Look at the arch there to get through to the back part of the building. That is classical Stalinist architecture that you could find in any Stalinist 5-story house pretty much anywhere in the center of Moscow too. And you've got Zona 30 as well, Russian word. So there's quite a few Stalinist apartment blocks still evident here in Azerbaijan. I mean, look at this, you can see the detail on the top of the columns. Bus, well, that's English word, isn't it? Yeah. Look at the detail on the top of the columns, the leaves, the balconies. That's all very Stalinist. The remnants from the Soviet Union are here. Isn't it crazy? We've just walked out of what was essentially the Persian Empire straight into the Russian and Soviet Empire. Here is the main theatre of Azerbaijan, or Baku. It says something Azerbaijan Academic Drama Theatre. I don't understand Azerbaijanian. I see that upside down backwards sounds something like an A, but that is definitely the Azerbaijanian Academic Drama Theatre, something or other. And I'm guessing this must be Azerbaijan Boulevard. I must have been on some sort of street just before. So we're going to go down and we're going to cross Azerbaijan Boulevard and head towards Nizami. There's another stray cat in there. And if you look, this is a vibe from the Soviets as well. In the West, you don't have shops and underpasses like this. I've only seen this in Russia, to be fair. And it must be like this in all of the former Soviet Union, where you have the underpass and half of it is blocked off for shops, and people rent out the shops and they have their businesses there. You can buy discount clothes, fake sunglasses, hats and bags, suitcases. In the summer you'll find them with strawberries and fruit juices and different kinds of nice imported fruits. I know in Moscow right now they have strawberries from Krasnodar and you can get them for like £5 for a kilogram. They're fantastic. Shoe shop, look. Everything your heart could desire. Now you may be wondering just why on earth is this country so advanced for what was a former Soviet state? And that has a very simple 3-letter answer: oil. What you're seeing here is one of the headquarter offices for Sosal Oil Company, which is one of the biggest in Azerbaijan. And in fact, it was the Russians who first started oil distilling, and they built their first distillery factory in Baku in 1837. And by the beginning of the 20th century, over half of the oil sold in international markets was extracted from right here in Baku. The oil boom contributed to massive growth in Baku, economically, structurally, in every way possible. And it's what's taken Baku from that tiny medieval town, from what you've seen now, from what you've seen before, into the big, sprawling metropolis that it is today. I'm going to try and cross that road quickly before the light goes. There we go. So between 1856 and 1910, Baku's population grew at a faster rate than that of London, Paris, New York City, or even Tokyo. The boom was happening here in Azerbaijan. And if you look, you can see European, Parisian apartment blocks, brand new 2000 apartment blocks, these big modern shopping centres and apartment blocks. You can see that the oil has funded pretty much everything here. And of course, as it was under Russian rule from the Russian Empire and Peter I, later became under Soviet rule. And of course, they built a metro. And here, you're going to jump down underground under Nizami Station. We're going to take a ride for only about one stop on the metro here. And of course, like any Soviet metro, we have to go through a checkpoint. Here is where you buy your ticket in the ticket hall. And above the ticket machines, you have these beautiful, beautiful Persian tiles. Let's head down underground. And here I can use Apple Pay. Finally, I'm in a country where I can use Apple Pay. There we go, I can use my normal English bank card. Hold near reader, it says, there we go, we'll go through. Fantastic. I tell you what, it's the little things you miss. I know Russia is a fantastic country, and I really do love living there, but the sanctions, it's just nice to be able to use my normal card. It seems that the locals don't know that you have to stand on the right here, or maybe they just have different rules in their culture. There's also this really loud music that plays all over the escalator. I guess if you understand Azerbaijani, you can tell me about the song. We're almost at the bottom. We're going to try and find our way to the 28th of May Street. And of course there is a grandmother trying not to fall asleep, looking after everyone on the escalator. And just look at this beautiful station. Absolutely phenomenal. Look at all of the beautiful mosaics. We've got a guy on a horse there. We've got a man, I guess after having fought two lions, because you can see the blood spilling out of them. Pretty sure that's the blood spilling out of the lions, his sword and his trophy. What do we have here? We have a woman, the Pegasus horse in the trees. Very, very beautiful indeed. Now, of course, there is a metro here because the city was part of the Soviet Union for 71 years. And the metro first opened on the 6th of November 1967. And of course, its features are pretty typical for former Soviet systems. The central stations are all very deep and they double as a bomb center. You normally have your mosaic and your centerpiece at the end of the platforms here. So you have a fantastic Soviet mosaic, which is not 2D, but in actual fact 3D, which I think is very, very beautiful. And I like how this metro system is a mix of Persian architecture, both Soviet architecture and Persian decoration. And the trains are purple as well, which is very nice to see. Let's jump on. Are we going the right way? Coming into the 28th of May station, we're going to have to try and fight our way off the train. Let's go. Oh, wow. Look at this. This is completely different. You see why it's so busy? There's only a train every 5 minutes. I mean, if it's going to be this busy, why run a train every 5 minutes? Maybe the intervals are different for peak times. Maybe they're a bit more different for weekdays and weekends. But for me, it seems pretty busy. And I think there are two train lines that share these tracks, which is why it is so busy at this particular station, because on one platform, both of the trains come. There goes our train, look, our nice new train from 2017. There is an old Soviet Nomornoy train just leaving over there, look. The crowds are absolutely crazy. So let's have a look at the 28th of May station. I've got to say, this is nowhere near as beautiful as Nizmail station. I do like the crisscross lights at the top, but I think that's about it, really. Nothing much here. There's that funny music playing again. They seem to be playing it everywhere across the metro. Over the escalators, on the platforms. I guess it helps pass the time between those long intervals. So this is us here, 28th of May. You can basically get a train to Hatay or Baku. And the next train to be coming is in... It doesn't even say when the next train is coming. The interval is that big. So we're going to find the way out and head upstairs towards 28th of May Street. We're going to head out towards 28th of May Street. Oh wow, the heat basically punches you straight in the face. We've got a shopping centre, got apartment blocks. They're building a new part of the metro there, look. We're going to head this way. Here's the square in front of the station. Very clean. Lots of people relaxing. Lots of buses, look, they're advertising about the fact that you can now use Apple Pay and Google Pay on your phone. So it must have recently come, the ability to be able to use your phone to pay for your transport. During the Russian Revolution in 1917, Baku and Azerbaijan saw some incredibly dark days, specifically the March days of 1918, where the Bolsheviks, seeking to establish control over Baku's streets, faced armed Azerbaijani groups, and the Azerbaijanis suffered defeat from the united force of the new Soviet Empire and were massacred in what would later be called the March Days, where an estimated 3,000 to 12,000 Azerbaijanis were killed in their own capital. Now, after the massacre on the 28th of May 1918, the Azerbaijanis proclaimed independence to become the Azerbaijanian Democratic Republic, the ADR in Ganja. Now, one of the only remnants of this independent state is the 28th of May Street. It was very, very short-lived, and that is because the newly independent Azerbaijani Republic, being unable to defend the independence of the country on their own, asked the Ottoman Empire for military support. And shortly after, Azerbaijani forces, with the support of the Ottoman army of Islam-led Nuru Pasha, started their advance on Baku, eventually capturing the city from the loose coalition of Bolsheviks. Now, the Ottoman Empire, recognizing defeat in World War I by October 1918, withdrew its forces from Baku, and about 5,000 British troops arrived in Baku in November 1918. And the general declared himself military governor. And as you can see, there is a Lutheran church here. Of course, us English being Christians and not practicing Islam, we had to have our own churches. So you have a mixture of Christian, Lutheran, Catholic and Islamic mosques here in Baku. It's a right fusion of cultures. I really do love it. However, the independence of the Azerbaijani Republic was only short-lived, because on the 28th of April 1920, the Red Army invaded Baku and reinstalled the Bolsheviks, making Baku the capital of Azerbaijani and Soviet Socialist Republic within Soviet Russia. Now let's quickly cover the Second World War, because during the Second World War, and particularly during the 1942 Nazi invasion of the southwestern Soviet Union, Baku became of vital strategic importance to the Axis powers. In fact, capturing the oil fields of Baku was a primary goal of Nazi Germany. However, the Nazis were stopped 320 miles northwest of Baku in November 1942, falling short of the city capture, being driven back by the Red Army. Now, could you imagine that? Really, all of those oil fields, all of this region's oil was powering every aeroplane, every tank, every car in World War II on the Soviet Red Army. Could you imagine just how devastating that would have been for the Soviet Union and perhaps the entire world had Nazi Germany have captured those oil fields? A little bit further along the 28th of May Street, you have a Parisian building on the left, very beautiful indeed, and on the right you have your Soviet Stalin 5-story apartment block. And just look at the difference facing each other on the street. You have 3 stories here, 5 stories here. And the contrast is just absolutely beautiful. And of course, on the Soviet apartment block, they very much like to put monuments for all the famous people who lived here. Unfortunately, I can't read Azerbaijanian, so I don't know who that is and what he's famous for. But you have loads of them popping up all over the Soviet Stalin 5-story blocks. And I think it's just such a beautiful city of contrast. We have mosques, different sorts of churches. I think that's my favourite thing about the city. The cars going in, you can see a close-up there of the Stalinist arch. It's very typical of Stalin buildings. You got a more modern apartment block up there, look. Absolutely lovely, really. And I love how there are so many trees to keep you in the shade. It lowers the temperature of the city overall, having so many trees and so much shade, and it makes it so much more pleasant to be in. And I think Dubai could do with a few more trees along its roads, to be fair. Dubai is lovely, and the locals, they say, Dubai is artificial. Here everything is natural. They say everything was built by society over hundreds and hundreds of years, whereas Dubai, it's artificial. Here is original. I kind of agree with that. As much as I like Dubai, as much of a nicer city as I think it is, I think here, where everything has grown more naturally over the course of many centuries, I think it's much more natural and much nicer. However, one thing remains the same for a big post-Soviet city. The traffic is ridiculous. We've made it to Yasil Bazaar. This is one of the old spice markets. Let's have a look inside. Well, it's got a brand new building. They spent some money on making it look nice. Let's see what you can buy in Baku Azerbaijan. Hello, brother. Hello.
My friend, America.
No, England. What's your name?
What's your now?
What's your name?
Super хороший.
Yeah, super хороший. Which food is famous in Baku?
Baku.
Какой еды самый хороший, известный?
Meyveler Baku super.
Yeah? This here?
Alça.
Yeah? I had this before. It tastes like apple, яблоко, but small. It's very cool. Have a good day, brother.
My friend.
Have a good day. Wow. Look, we've got different spices. Look at all the different Persian spices. Oh, that all looks fantastic. And see, they're keeping everything nice and clean. Cleanliness is paramount in this city. We've got different tomatoes. We've got different dried fruits. So this looks like the greengrocer's market. And look at all the different stalls that are around here. All selling various fruit. There's jams and drinks over there. Vegetables, fresh produce. There's fish. Look at the size of the fish in there. They must have been caught from the Caspian Sea. Look at the size of them. Look, we have actual baklava from Turkish influences here. I love how it's such a fusion of different cultures, not just architecturally, but with their food as well. What a fantastic little market. Aha! There's some more evidence of the Soviets, look. Dmitry Mendeleev, the man who came up with the periodic table. So this is definitely an old Soviet building. And we need to go down here and turn left, and we will see what modern Baku and Azerbaijan looks like. Just take a look at these skyscrapers. They look phenomenal. They're all curved and bent. You've got a 3D looking trapeze building and a circular oval there, which is apparently a shopping mall. And right next to it, if you look here, we have how many floors? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Your typical 5-star Soviet apartment block. This part of Baku is very, very modern and very nice. And although we have a fusion of architecture from different empires, if you look here, we have Costa Coffee from the west and Pims, which is a Russian brand, together in the same pavilion. No sanctions here in Azerbaijan. We have both west and eastern brands side by side in perfect harmony. So let's go round and have a look at this beautiful futuristic part of Baku. Oh, it's windy as hell. Even though we're 28 meters below sea level, it is extremely, extremely windy. I tell you what, being in here reminds me of being in London's Canary Wharf or Moscow City. We are right next to all of these beautiful skyscrapers. And we're going to go and have a look at what is called the Crescent. You can see just how well they take care of the space here. We have a gentleman watering the grass, and we have lots of different designer shops, look. Designer clothes, designer shoes. We had a Bentley shop just around the corner. We got Stone Island here in Zenga. And you can see that they are actively building more towers and buildings here. The construction keeps on going. Never ending, never finishing. Here's Port Mall, look. This is where you find all of your designer outlets like Dolce & Gabbana. Look at the buildings here. Brand new, modern. We're gonna have to go under the mall and we're gonna head towards Crescent. We're going to have to go under the road again. We'll see if it's just as nice as it is in the city centre. The escalators aren't working. It must be too hot for them. Let's go down. Oh, there's no shops here, look. No shops here. But there are lots of lovely pictures. Spring morning in Baku, 1959. Look at the lamps on the wall. Doesn't have to be beautiful, but it is, because why not? Fantastic, eh? Look at the other pieces of artwork. Tamir Salov, Mikhail Abdulev. There's all of the artists. Look at that. Oh, this one's beautiful. My favourite time of day is blue hour, just before sunrise or just after sunset. And that sky is a deep, deep blue. Absolutely fantastic. Look, there's the shore of the Caspian Sea. They really do make sure that everything is nice here. I see what our friend from the UFC means when he says everything is clean and flashy. Because it is. But why not, eh? If you've got the money and you've got the pride, why not? Look at this square. I know it's very concrete, but there are still loads of trees and plants everywhere that bring it up to the standard of the rest of the city. You can see the flame tower in the background there, just peeking off. Why is it like this? Why is Baku so advanced for somewhere that was part of the Soviet Union and the Russian Empire for so long? Well, the answer is, after the collapse of the Soviet Union, Baku embarked on a process of reconstruction on a scale that is unseen in its history. Thousands and thousands of Soviet apartment buildings were demolished to make way for a green belt on its shores. Parks and gardens were built on land reclaimed by filling up the beaches of Baku Bay, which is why there aren't so many beaches around the city centre anymore. We are most likely walking on what used to be not just a beach, but those Khrushchev concrete panel Soviet apartment blocks. Improvements were made to bring the city up to Western European standards, which is most likely why you see all of those Parisian buildings on the streets. So they completely demolished all of those Khrushchev buildings. Some of the Stalin ones stayed because, in my opinion, those are very nice. But it makes perfect sense why look like, you know, a city stuck in the 1990s after the collapse of the Soviet Union. Like some other countries, when you can use your money and your capital to rebuild, not just to become like a Western city, but to become like other leading cities like Dubai as well. I think it's a fantastic fusion of Soviet, the West, Persian, and the future. And the three separate nations gained independence following the collapse of the Soviet Union, and that was Georgia, Azerbaijan, and Armenia. So it makes perfect sense as to why we haven't seen so many Soviet apartment buildings. Like you see those big concrete towers from all of your pictures on the internet, and from all of the suburb regions in Moscow and St. Petersburg, and from all of the old other former Soviet republics, because they were completely demolished to make way for the future. Now, yes, fair enough, Baku and Azerbaijan could do that because of the capital coming in from the oil, whereas other countries could not do that. They are, and still are today, rather poor. But Baku is a fine example of what can be done given the funds. And you know what? Hats off to them. You see, they have the pride. They have these fantastic people paid to make the plants look nice, to water everything, to make the public spaces look and feel beautiful. I think it's absolutely fantastic. Besides, you could spend all of this capital from the oil on corruption and bribes and on yachts and on mansions and investing it in, I don't know, properties in London that stay empty forever where people can't get houses just to build your capital. Or you can improve your own country. And I tell you what, big respect to Azerbaijan for doing everything they can to bring their country into the modern world. It's dusk now here, and we've made it all the way back to Highland Park. And just look at these. These are the flame towers perched on the tallest point of Baku in the Highland Park. And you can see right now they're displaying the Azerbaijani flag. And this is what I'm talking about when I say that the city is undergoing its most major transformation ever. And these towers are the symbol of this transformation. They overlook the Caspian Sea, Baku Bay and the old medieval city, and they range up to about 182 meters tall in height, and they serve as a modern symbol of the country, paying homage to the region's ancient history of fire worship. You remember earlier I talked about that before Islam was introduced here in Azerbaijan, the country's people used to worship fire because the natural gas pockets would ignite into eternal flames. And you can see the moon up there. We're now in blue hour, just after the sunset. Everyone has come to the top of Highland Park to get some fantastic pictures with the flame towers, and to get a fantastic view of the skyline of Baku itself. And just look at that. Absolutely phenomenal. Look, everyone's come, they've dressed up, having their pictures taken. It looks absolutely bustling. Everyone has come here, tourists and locals alike, as this is pretty much summer solace. We're only filming about 2 days after summer solace. Look at that, one tower for each of the 3 colors of the Azerbaijani flag. And if we go out here, I'll show you this way, you will be able to see not just the old city, but the bay where all of those Hurashovsky skyscrapers were filling the beaches, and they've all been filled in to make way for Baku Bay. All of those futuristic towers with a brand new shopping center down there in the shape of the flower, and of course a fun fair at the bottom. Just look at this beautiful skyline. So many different empires have ruled over these lands, and they've all fused their architecture, their culture, their food, everything together. And that brings us to the end of the video. We've had a look at all of the different empires that have ruled over Baku and Azerbaijan itself, from all the way from the Persian Old Town, to have a look at the Ottoman and British influences, life under Soviet leadership, and of course the future of the country after the fall of the Soviet Union, and all of the money that's being invested into making this place one of the most futuristic countries from the old Soviet Union. Do let me know, what is your favorite part of the city? Did you think that this place was ruled by so many different empires? And if not, which one was the most shocking for you? I'd like to hear about all of your thoughts and all of your opinions about all of the different places, what you think is famous here. I'm looking forward to reading everything in the comments, and I will see you in the next video for St. Petersburg.